Well, good morning, everybody. Here's some of the highlights of the forecast over the next couple of weeks for both North and South America. I'm going to start you off looking at the last 30 days in terms of percent of normal precipitation, because this map is going to be making some pretty big changes in a couple of areas. I'm thinking a lot about what's coming out right here with this high over low setup, with this low that's going to sneak through here slowly over the next several days and end up over parts of the southeast. I'll be watching the jet extension that's going to be showing up around Christmas that could be impacting parts of California. Much drier areas are expected, to kind of continue to evolve, where I'm kind of drawing these arrows coming in across the country and also parts of the Mid-South as well. So we need to keep an eye on those regions too. But take a look at this. Over the next few days, we're going to watch it get cold enough along the high plains in parts of Colorado, Kansas, parts of Texas and New Mexico, as well as the panhandle of Oklahoma, that we could be picking up a halfway decent shot at 1 to 3 inches, with embedded areas of 4 to 5, and even one spot into parts of New Mexico that may pick up 6 to 10 inches of snow, maybe a bit more than that. It's been a pretty robust forecast solution here, and it's bringing in some colder air temporarily and some decent chances for some snow. Now, the models are a bit indifferent on what's going to happen after that. While they agree on the position of the wetter conditions here, the European model pushes the wave a bit farther to the south before racing it up the east coast. It's helped along by a shortwave that sneaks through right into this part of the mid-south, pushing that wave farther into the south. Outside of that, much of the rest of the country is dry. You can see the west coast is dry, despite this low that's just sitting off the coast. Maybe gets close enough to bring in some coastal showers to California, but California's going to have to wait closer to Christmas and beyond to see better moisture return in this area. But the models are really quite different about this. This is the GFS. The GFS is keeping a solitary wave much closer to the coast rather than combining it with this trough that's trying to sneak over the top of this in this area. And as a result, it's keeping much wetter conditions over parts of the south and southeast. So I thought we'd go have a look at it here. That's really the only system to talk about other than this one sneaking through today over the Hudson Bay. So here we go. This is now Wednesday night, getting into early Thursday morning, and I'm keeping an eye right here. So this system starts Wednesday night, but then is around Wednesday and even into early early Friday before it starts to move, bringing with it the chance of storms and wetter conditions farther to the east. Now watch the difference in the models as I click through Saturday. We'll just pause this. How about midnight, okay, on Sunday morning? Wetter conditions pretty far to the south in the European, much wetter inland here in the GFS. Now, right now, the European model has a better skill score, but I'm telling you, watch this carefully because I still think the GFS solution has some really good merit to it. Now, what I'm talking about here is that keeping it wet over the southeast, I think, is a higher chance than going drier. Now, you'll notice after this, so this is next weekend, Sunday into Monday, both models are attempting to pull something up the East Coast early next week, with the GFS being the slower, bigger wave versus the European having this connection with this shortwave trough that's coming out of the Hudson Bay. It tries to yank this farther to the north, giving us more chances for snow there. But you notice that's really the only game in town through the next 7 days. We'll have to wait out until next week before we maybe get some coastal precipitation in California. But I wanted to compare the models for you. So this is the European model next 7 days. This is the GFS. So European GFS. And the differences are here. European's wetter on the backside, and with the wave that sneaks in over the top, the GFS in these colors much wetter across the Gulf Coast into the southeast. The European, taking that system more quickly up the East Coast, is wetter here as well. Now remember, of all of the models that are currently being run, the one with the highest skill score right now is the Graphcast model. This is the machine learning model. I haven't been showing it a lot because it's kind of difficult to compare to the other maps I show you, so I have to go to the ECMWF website to see it. Notice, though, that it is drier currently in the southeast, so we're going to have to watch to see which of these forecast models has this right. What I can tell you is that in terms of dryness, the Canadian Prairie, the Midwest, the Upper Midwest, the Great Plains, the Rocky Mountains, the Southwest are having trouble gaining moisture. And the big reason for that is the flow comes over the top a lot. Now, there's a wave sneaking through it, but it's just doesn't have enough moisture. There's too much convergence in this flow. We've got to flip this around, get the flow coming out of the southwest, and then it's game on in terms of a lot of active weather. When does that happen? Well, I don't see it happening for a while, and I'll show you why in a few moments, but I wanted to give you an update on that snowfall chance. So right now, the best chance of getting an inch or even up to 3 inches Why don't we step it up to 6? I mean, we've got some heavy snows coming down to the high plains here just with this system midweek this week. What we're waiting on is this jet extension, which is over 6,000 miles long by the time we get to Christmas and a little beyond. The issue is, as it extends, what does North America get? It gets split flow. And split flow just gives us, again, that northwest component while the flow dips underneath it down here across the Gulf Coast. So that just makes things drier in the midsection of the country, and that's what you end up getting. I think all three models kind of mimic what the CPC came out with. We're going to wait at the end of this 2-week time period for heavy precipitation to start to arrive in California. There's still uncertainty with this, but we're going to watch it. The rest of the country, though, we don't see a strong possibility of going overly wet. Okay, let's finish this up with a bit on temperatures, and then we'll talk about South America and wrap it all up. I'm going to take you back to yesterday because you can see under the cloud cover here some of the snow that fell last week in North Dakota. Some places here picking up over 6 inches of snow. Well, that'll be gone soon because watch what the temperatures do from today into tomorrow, getting into Thursday. That's when the colder air sits here supporting the snow, and then we get into Friday. Very mild throughout much of North America as we play through this next weekend. Now, the good thing is you melt that snow, that water then gets into the soil. But take a look at how warm things are going to be the next 5 days, day 5 through 10, and day 10 through 15. That leads up to the week surrounding Christmas. Very mild across much of North America. Now, from here, I want to take you to South America because we've been watching a few things reposition themselves, like the MJO, not advancing into the Pacific the way I'd hoped. And as a result, this whole area, I mean, this is 95% of Brazil's growing area, and the European model expected to be drier, while Argentina expected to be much wetter than average. Now, they need this in Buenos Aires, Cordoba, Santa Fe. They don't need this along the Paraná River. That's the European model solution. This is the GFS solution. Very similar in how dry things are. And if you think about this even longer term, I want to show you something very quickly here. If we go back to, let's just go back to the 5th. The forecast models for the week of the 21st to the 28th were bringing in heavy rains into northern Brazil. They need that. The newest runs, much drier. We have to watch that transition. I think all of this is related to the fact that El Niño's likely plateaued, and we're not seeing much more of a change in the ocean temperatures right about the time of year when it should reach its peak. So maybe we're getting kind of the peak influence of El Niño. It might last for another 3 to 6 weeks before it starts to back off. And one of the top things I will be watching for the remainder of our winter, in addition to all the other things like the MJO, polar vortex, all that stuff, is going to be the colder water that's in and around the Gulf of Alaska. Deep troughs of low pressure keep living over Alaska. Do we drop this off even further, giving us a stronger influence in the PDO? Take a look at the longer video I recorded a few moments ago and kind of get the end of that one to see what I was thinking. But I'm going to cut this one off here. Tell you to have a good day, and we'll talk tomorrow. Thanks.